This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 150 of the Dressage Radio Show, brought to you with the generous support of the New England Dressage Association. Chris Stafford, welcome to the program. On this week's episode, we're going to be catching up with Heather Blitz and hearing about what she's been doing down there this winter since we last spoke to her a couple of months ago. But first of all, our sponsored training tip from the New England Dressage Association. Well, joining me now is Sarah Geeky from the New England Dressage Association. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Nice to have you join us, because I know you're aware of the Dressage Radio Show and you listen sometimes. So good to have you joining us this week with the NEDA training tip segment. You have something that's unique up there. NEDA is often known as a pioneer and a leader in the GMOs, the General Membership Organizations of the U.S. Dressage Federation. So this is a really, really neat idea. Tell us about the Flex Time program.
Well, what the Flex Time program is, it's a unique program that started in 2001, and it's a very simple program that essentially has been able to gain support from the New England professional trainers, in which the trainers have offered and what we do is we give 1 to 3 free lessons to any adult amateur or junior young rider that is a member of NEDA. And the young riders and adults pay a nominal fee. It's a reduced fee that they pay for this lesson with a top professional. And in turn, they get a quality lesson that they might not have access to. And the money that is generated from this program goes towards other educational events.
That is a really neat program. How did it all come about?
It was started in 2001. It was the brainchild of the then clinic coordinator, Cindy Snowden, along with Amy Bretsky. And they thought that, they knew that we had all these highly qualified instructors within New England, and to make it easier for people to have access to them, that they would bring the students to the instructors as compared to try and set up a big clinic and make it very complicated. They just made it as simple as possible. And it's caught on like crazy.
And you've been involved with NEDA for quite a while, haven't you, and participate in the program yourself?
Yes, that is true.
And so what does it involve then? How often do you get to participate in the program during, say, the course of a year?
Well, what applicants do is they submit an application to the NEDA coordinator, and for the last several years this has been Nancy Marsh-Terry, she's really helped to grow the program enormously. So they submit their applications to her, and it's basically a short critique of their riding, and they also include what instructor or instructors they would like to ride with and have their lesson with, and then it is reviewed and acted upon, and to my knowledge, everybody that applies is able to be put with a professional that they can have a lesson.
Right, so it's really, whenever people need it, then you coordinate it to meet the trainer's schedule.
It's pretty much. It's done once a year. Nancy sends a letter out to all of the instructors in the fall to find out who wants to participate again for the next year. And then the next thing is that the applicants are sent in to Nancy in the winter time, and then they're chosen, and then they are given their instructor that they're going to ride with, and the lessons really take place from about April to October.
I guess that's to fall in with the weather up there in New England, isn't it? With the seasons.
Yes.
Right.
And so many professionals in New England go to Florida for the season too.
Right. Terrific. Well, that's a great program, and you can find out more about it, I guess, on the NEDA website.
Yes.
Tell everybody where they need to go, Sarah.
It's www.neda.org.
Terrific. That's the New England Dressage Association. I want to thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us this week and sharing that program with us.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Well, joining me now from Wellington is Heather Blitz. Heather, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Chris. It's great to be back again.
Well, it is. Last time I saw you, we were recording the show live and in person. That was quite different, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a blast. It was fun having you down here that week. You should make that happen more often.
Yeah, really, I will. I promise I will, because you really have everything going on there in Wellington with the Global Dressage Festival. That has launched big time, hasn't it? It's just been really the hub of dressage now in this country for the winter.
Well, it is the hub now, and it's becoming more so every day, and it just seems like everyone's getting so excited about it. And I think anybody pretty much who competes there even once is walking away with, that kind of assessment. It's just a great place for competitors. And I think also a great place for spectators. It's just so sophisticated feeling, and it looks really sharp. There's lots of vendors. There's easy parking, like everything's really close. It's a neat feeling being there, especially as a competitor.
Yeah, and everything's very convenient to you. And I should say also just 2 blocks from your barn anyway. So it is pretty handy, isn't it?
Oh, that's so wonderful. Really getting spoiled. I can do, I don't know how many CDIs they have now here in the season down here in Wellington. It's probably, I think it's one every weekend. And every one of them you can sleep in your own bed. That's pretty special. And I don't know if any other place in the world that's like that. There's so much going on, and it's really fun to be near all the jumpers and the polo as well. So you don't have to just stay with your own sport. You can go have fun at the big, multi-$100,000 jump off on Saturday nights under the lights, and that's just huge entertainment for whether you're a horse person or not. They have a lot going on there, and it's just such a neat place down here in Wellington. It's really magical. It's getting bigger and bigger.
And you talked about being under the lights for the jumpers. Well, you're under the lights now for those evening programs, and you've done the freestyle now, twice in the lights?
I have. At the new Global Dressage Festival, they have a nice setup for the Grand Prix freestyle. They have those now on in the evenings. They start with the lights on, and it's even more special atmosphere. And I think I know my horse likes it a whole lot because he's not a big fan of the sun. He and I are very similar in that way. We don't last in the intense sun rays for very long. So he especially likes competing 2 times, one in the 3-star, and then this past weekend in the 5-star. We did the freestyle both times under the lights, and it was just feels nicer to be able to put your coat on and not be baking and come out so hot and sweaty. So it's a nice atmosphere, and I think the crowd enjoys also being able to sit in more comfort and watch, and it's just a neat thing to do.
I know people are thinking, well, she doesn't like the heat and she lives in Wellington. How do you cope with it then?
Don't ask me. I just try not to think about it. I just try to get through each day. But we do ride when the sun's not, at its height, and in the morning, and then in the afternoons when it's a little going down again. And that's the best way we can cope. And then, if it gets too bad still, then we try to trailer over to facilities that do have covered rings, and that makes it a lot better.
Yeah. Now, those performances that were under lights in the evening then, is the venue already generating a crowd, Heather? Do you think you attract some people over from the Winter Equestrian Festival, from the other disciplines, or do you feel just a dedicated dressage audience that's coming along there on a Saturday night for the performance?
No, actually, I know it's attracting people outside of the dressage world and even outside of the equestrian world. My massage therapist in particular doesn't have anything to do with horses, and I was telling her about the competition, and she gathered up like 10 people and brought them over and just thought, and then she called me afterwards and she said that was one of the more fun things they've done in a long time. So they're not even equestrian people in any sport. But they said they're hooked and they want to come and watch that, and they were going to the jumping the next night. So it is a fun thing for spectators from all places. And I know also that the first night they had the freestyle under the lights, there was a big jumper contingent there coming to watch, and I think the whole German jumper team came over. I know, and I'm sure there were many more. And it's they are scheduling it so that the freestyle is on Friday night, and then the jumpers are on Saturday night. So they don't want those two to conflict, and that's a really smart thing because it's fun to do both for sure.
Yeah, that's a great idea because it really is generating an international cast of spectators, isn't it? Of competitors, I should say, for those global dressage festival competitions now, because so many foreign riders are based down there for the winter, aren't they?
Well, they are, and I think next season we're going to see even more. I think the Europeans that have come this season are definitely going back to their homes with spreading a good word for us. And I really expect to see quite a few more come from Europe for longer term, being here in the beautiful atmosphere and beautiful weather, escaping some of the European dreariness in the winter. And I think it's going to be quite different next year. And that's really exciting for me as an American competitor, because you used to definitely have to go to Europe to compete against horses of that caliber, and the more of them come over here, it kind of saves us from being so necessary to have to go to Europe to compete against horses like that. So if they come to us, then even better.
Yeah, well, definitely, because you need that kind of exposure to the European competitors and to the European judges.
Yeah, we've had European judges. We get the foreign judges, and we have every year. It's required, and we see them, and they're doing a good job on getting the judges. But it really is, having a start list with European horses on it that really makes you bump your game up a bit. Because, not that there aren't fantastic horses to compete against here in this country, but, the more you bring from Europe too, there's just more of them, and you have to bump up your game to, even more to match the skills what's coming over from Europe.
Well, we should also mention there's the attractive purses too. The prize money at the GDF is really, really attractive, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, of course. We hardly ever get any prize money to speak of in our sport, and this series is coming up with quite a bit and some good sponsors. And we all are very thankful for that. That's nothing but really good for the sport. So that's very exciting.
Well, I've talked about this on the show before, Heather, about the facilities down there, that it really has everything for the dressage rider at all levels. Well, now that they've really got going and hosting these shows every week, they've got more established now. How many arenas have been running simultaneously?
Well, they have 3 show rings that are going all at once. And during the week, they also have shows, which I think is kind of neat. They have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday shows. And those are a great experience, much less kind of atmosphere and stress for horses that are greener or riders that are greener to go over there and still go through the whole routine. Mm-hmm. They have the 2 national rings going on those days. And then on the weekends, of course, the international ring is going too. So yeah, they have 3 competition rings and quite a bit of warm-up for them all, and 2 permanent barns of really nice stabling, very nice stabling. And they even have not only are the stables with rubber mats on the floor, but it's the quite cushiony rubber mats that are better quality and nicer for the horses to stand on. And they really put quite a bit of quality into the construction. And I could imagine having horses in those stables all season long. They're really super nice, very good construction, and very safe.
Well, not only have the American riders been using it as preparation for their selection processes for the Olympic Games, but also for the World Cup lead-up for many riders too. Where will this fit in your program, Heather, talking about, the Global Dressage Festival competitions that you've done, and as part of your campaign leading up to the selection trials?
Well, I have done 3 shows at the Global Dressage Festival, and I've done one out at Equestrian Estates in Loxahatchee. That was the Palm Beach Derby. And I also did one over at the Jim Brandon Equestrian Center, and that was the Wellington Classic, and that also was the Masters 5-star on the same weekend. So between all of those shows, my scores that I have declared to count towards my Olympic trials selection those are the shows I've used to get my scores to qualify for the trials. So, but I am done showing as far as qualifying anything or doing any shows until the trials. So I have a little bit of relief for a couple of months now to go back into a bit of a training mindset and take some of the competition pressure off of Perry on me, and just go back in, peel a few more layers off what we need to do, and make it a little bit more like normal life for a little while.
Well, remind everybody how young he is still, having got as far as he has in this process, in moving up from the small tour. He's still a young horse, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a very young horse, and for being as I think as big as he is, maybe it takes a little longer for the big ones to mature. But he just turned 9, and he started, a few small Grand Prix, just in small shows. Actually, like December. November last year, so just to kind of see what it was like and where the weaknesses were and what we've got to do. And but he's just 9 now, so he's mentally quite mature. Physically still has, of course, some maturing to do. He's just a huge horse that is working super well, but it does take really a lot of time to put enough strength on that big of a horse to carry off all the collection and all the work he has to do. But he's just such a willing guy, and he tries his hardest every day that I ride him, and I just can't get over how generous he is. And I make sure that he has plenty of time to rest and be happy, and combine that with enough work to keep him building and to keep getting stronger and stronger. But he loves his work, and he hasn't told me at all yet that he doesn't want to do it. But I still really take a lot of care with him that I don't over push him. I don't train that long every day. I don't even train 6 days a week. And I do a lot of hacking. I do a lot of stuff to keep him happy, and just because I want to preserve his wonderful temperament and his body and his legs, and just to make sure that we're going for the team, and that's exciting, but he's such a young horse that he's got so much ahead of him also. So I have to consider as much about his, the many years beyond London for him, as much as I do consider the team this year. So that's a lot to keep in mind.
And he goes to the gym too, doesn't he?
He does. He walks on his treadmill. And I like that because it's another way to get him out and to do something without any mental strain. Like, there's no training mentally in that, so he doesn't get burnt out on things. And it's a nice stretch for the afternoon, or sometimes he works a little bit more of an incline, so he gets some hill work since we don't have any hills here in Florida. So it's a really great addition. I think he's doing great with the treadmill, and it's helped a lot to build some strength, too, behind.
How about you? Do you go on it?
I have, just for fun. No, my schedule now that some of my seasonal clients have gone home is going to maybe be a little lighter, give me a little room for doing things like signing up for that gym membership. I need to do it, and I do have more time now, but you just can't fit it all in sometimes, and you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you really do. So you're going to have a vacation now before the selection trials, or is it just an easier time?
Just an easier daily routine. I won't be doing from sun up to sundown. My days will just end a little sooner. And actually, my days have to have quite a big break in the middle because of the heat starting to come on. I know it's only beginning of April, but we're already in the 90s. And when the sun is direct, it's a little dangerous, So we don't exercise a whole lot between 11 and about 5. So there's a lot of time there where I can go inside and catch up on a lot of stuff that I can't normally do.
Right, into the office. But we always talk about Paragon because he is the superstar. But you have some other little hidden treasures in your barn, and one of those you did actually start showing this time, a nice young stallion. Tell us about Ripline.
Well, Ripline, yeah, he's my newest addition in my training program here, and he was bred by Oak Hill Ranch in Folsom, Louisiana, the same breeders that bred Paragon. He is by Hotline, and his mother is by Blue Horse Kevin, and his dam sire, dam sire is Rambo. So there's a little blood that I recognize in there. I don't know much about Hotline, but what I know so far from Ripline, I really love. He's just a very well put together, very, very nice conformation, very beautiful stallion. And he is already approved by Danish Warmblood, although we're going to wait a little on breeding him just so he has a chance to really focus on his training. He's so young and so sweet and so focused on work already that just going to give him a chance to do that for a while before he starts having two jobs. But very, very excited about him in the future. I did take him out for his first competition over at Global Dressage Festival, and he was great. He stayed quite sweet and obedient and focused as much as any 4-year-old stallion would. Didn't make a peep. He noticed all the horses around him, but he thought it was great, and he was comfortable and quiet in his stall. I just think he did really, really well. And, that was our maiden voyage, so I think it was a good sign that it's going to be fine in the future, too.
And how long have you been riding him now?
Just since December. And he was started in Louisiana by a great trainer named Bruce Egglesfield, and I really think he did a super job with him and gave him just a whole lot of information as a young colt and got him out a lot in the hundreds of acres they have in the property there, which was super for his brain, and got him quite well started under saddle and a lot of good miles put on him. So when I got him here in Florida in December, he was just ready to go, and I didn't really know what I would get. I hadn't ridden him before, but I've just been super, super pleased with him since the first day. So I'm really excited about getting him out, and I'm going to see about maybe campaigning him towards the 4-year-old North American 4-year-old championships, and just get his show career going. And I think he's the kind of horse that will be able to compete quite well at each level, where, some horses in the beginning may need a little more training before they can come out. I think he can come out at training at first level, at second level, and I think he'll make a very nice kind of normal progression up the levels, which is really, really nice to know.
How big is he?
He is 16.2 now, but if you believe in that string test where you can measure their leg, measure from their elbow to the wither, he's going to grow about 3 more inches. So that would make him just 17 hands, maybe a little bit higher when he's finished growing.
And you're 18 hands, aren't you?
Something like that. But if he doesn't make the size that Paragon does, that's fine. He's going to make up for it in beauty and presence and power and just sweetness. I wish I could cuddle with him here in my living room. He's so sweet.
Oh. And so what would you look for in a young horse at that age? He's 4 years old? Coming 5? Mm-hmm. What would you be looking for then at his stage of training? I mean, I know that's a general question, Heather, but I think, our listeners would be interested to know, what you would consider to be talent at that stage, at so early in his life.
Well, what impresses me the most about him, I guess, number one is his sense of body awareness. He tends to he knows where his hind end is, he knows where his torso is, he knows where his front end is. He just has a very good sense of body awareness to start with, and that's also, a matter of he's really in balance. This sounds simple, but he goes very easily. If I ask him to go, he just says, okay. And if he's going, no matter how fast or slow, and I ask him to come back or to stop, he absolutely doesn't argue, doesn't delay, doesn't have a hard time. He just says, okay, and he stops. And that sounds really simple, but, not all youngsters are that easy because of strength or just immaturity, or they can't focus or whatever. He's just like a turnkey kind of get on and go and everything works kind of guy. The first time I asked him to leg yield, it's like I didn't even have to give him any instructions. Somehow he just had already programmed to just know what that meant. And, it was in trot, and he just did the leg yield with no real advanced, knowledge of it. So he's got just a very natural sense of communicating with me and responding to the aids. And I think because he stays in such a good balance between back, front, left, and right, it's easy for him. And I also like that with him, he has, if at Liberty, you can chase him around the arena or whatever, and you can see the talent he has in his gaits, and it's very rhythmic, very uphill. He's got a lot of power in his body, and he can really show himself off, very, very well. And that's why, he's already been approved, because he has such talent. Under saddle, he keeps it on a very normal, rideable level, and he's not trying to do things with all of his talent that he hasn't been told to do yet. And some horses that have a lot of talent, they start throwing it at you when you don't even you don't try to get it from them yet. And that just makes training more complicated. And I think it makes it more stressful for horses that when they don't know any better and they just start pulling stuff out of their sleeve and, doing things that they really don't have the experience to do. I've got another one in the barn that does that, and it's exciting that he has the talent, but it's not so exciting when he starts dressaging and knows nothing about what to do, and it stresses him, and then it's hard to just get him back on a normal level because he's tapped into his talent too soon. So what I like about this little stallion is he only does what I ask him, and he does it with no delay, but he can do more. If I asked him, I know he would. But it's just nice to be able to regulate the expression and the extra gears, to keep that quiet until they want it. So I like that also in any young horse, that they don't just start doing things just because they can. They need to start doing things because you ask them to. And I definitely like that, because I've had plenty of the other ones, and it's trickier.
And they try and second guess you. Is that what you're saying? And that they just try and show off more than they realize they're not even capable of yet?
Yeah, or if they show off too much and you try to tell them, whoa, that's enough, and just kind of ground them back, take a little control and just show them how to make it okay, that they don't get too high off the ground, or they don't get too far, off the aids or whatever, so that you can't help them. And I don't think that, horses that do come up with more expression than they should, I don't know if they're necessarily being negative about it, but they just can kind of, it just boils out of them. Like they're so energetic or, just excited, whatever, it just happens. But then sometimes it's hard to, control that for their benefit. You'd like to control them so that they don't get too carried away. And it's nice to have a horse that, just stays reasonable about the information that I give them, with my feet or my legs or my reins, that I can always bring this one in particular kind of back into a nice, normal, rideable, easy place. So, and that way I can keep him very confident about what he's able to do, and only ask him to do what I think he's close enough to be able to do really well. And some horses they want to jump like 10 steps and do something that they shouldn't do yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with him, I can just have him do like the next thing that he should be able to do, and not 10 steps more than what he's got the experience for.
So how long would you typically work him in a day? And it presumably, but 5 or 6 days a week, you'd do some groundwork with him?
Yeah, at his age, he's a stallion, and he does get turned out, and he likes that. But, maybe just to keep him a little more, keep him from getting bored or, not interested enough. I think 5 days a week is good for him. Some 4-year-olds are fine with maybe 4 days a week, especially if they're really growthy. I don't like to overtrain them. I do groundwork with him, though, and that's pretty fun. I take him in the round pen, and I've introduced him a little bit to have steps on the ground, which he's very, very easily accepted and very smart. So do a little bit of that and keep him interested with groundwork. So in the future, then when I'm on his back and I want to ask a little bit for that, he'll already have some groundwork for it. And we hack out. So he's got a good enough brain that I can take him even by himself out, go as far away from my property as I want to. And that's great for his brain, and he likes that quite a lot. He stays relaxed and very happy out, so I make sure that that's a big part of his program. And he also goes on the treadmill.
He goes to the gym too. So he's not at all coltish then. It sounds like he's very, uncoltish in his attitude to life, maybe because he hasn't had a girlfriend yet.
Well, he knows what the girls are. You can tell he's a colt for sure. I mean, he's definitely handsome and he knows it, but he's so well behaved that he may nicker and he may look at horses more than a gelding or a mare would look at other horses. But I don't hold that against him. He's allowed to look, but he stays very well behaved. And as far as most colts go that I've had experience with, he's very much in the top 2% of well behaved.
Oh. So
yeah.
What's the plans for him now then as you get into the summer season?
Well, like I said, I've done one show, and I'll just pick out another show or two for him, and just look into the 4-year-old championships and find out what's required there and when the dates. I haven't really looked into it yet, but depending on how my fall goes with Paragon and my schedule, and when the schedule is for something like 4-year-old championships with Ripline, I will decide maybe we do that. And if not, then he'll just train for the rest of this year, and I'll get him really ready for next year's season down here in Wellington.
Right, so that is Ripline by Hotline. Now, going back to the main chance, of course, Paragon, and you mentioned the selection trials now. You have a bit of a quiet period leading up to June. Then what does that schedule look like for you? The selection trials, we should point out, are in Gladstone, New Jersey, here in the States, and everyone who has a hope of making that team has to compete there, don't they, over 2 weekends?
Well, the top 15 that have put in their application of intent to qualify, the top 15 in the nation will be invited to Gladstone, and if any of those don't want to go, then they move down the list to 16, 17, 18, and so on. But then those that accept the invitation will compete in the Grand Prix and the Grand Prix Special 2 weekends back-to-back, so June 8th, 9th, something like that, and then the next weekend too. And then out of those 4 tests, each test is 25% of your average, and then the top from those competitions will be the final decision on who competes in London.
Right. And just remind everybody how many they take and how many compete now, because the rules have changed.
All right. America did qualify to have a team competition, so the team will be 3 horse and rider combinations, and then there will be an alternate. But we did not qualify to take an individual, which is unfortunate. But that was determined by how many riders that nation had on the world ranking list in the top 30 on the world ranking list, and we did not qualify. We did not have enough riders that met that criteria. So because of that, we don't get an individual. Some countries, and I don't even know which ones they are. It's probably Germany, Holland, and England, maybe.
Mm-hmm. England's pretty good. I don't like to rub it in, too much, Heather. But my old country is not doing too badly at this game now, are they?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we'll have 3 then competing for the U.S.
Okay. Well, great. Well, we'll be following those trials. They take place over 2 weekends in June. We'll be bringing you, obviously, the results of that and who does make it to the London Olympic Games. But Heather, I know you're going to have a little bit of an easy time now, so maybe we can catch up with you before you go to Gladstone for that. Do you think you might have time to come and join us again on the Dressage Radio Show?
I will give it my best. You know me, if I have free time, I fill it up. But I will do my best to leave some time to do this again.
All right. Well, your audience enjoys you. So, I mean, you've got a big audience there. And they want to know what's happening with Paragon too. They like little updates about him. So we have to include updates on Ripline now that we've introduced him.
Yes. Well, I will be glad to give you updates on him. I'm sure it's all going to be good.
Well, did I mention that I'm going to go to the Olympic Games?
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I haven't been selected, like most people get to be selected to go to the games. No, I'm just going as a regular journalist, covering the games for the Horse Radio Network.
Well, that's got to be exciting for you.
Well, yes, I get to go to London again. I know my way around there a little bit and around Greenwich, so, it'll be nice to go to the old haunts, and have fish and chips, things that are really important,
And warm beer.
Oh, no, I don't, I don't touch the warm beer.
And warm beer. Don't they drink warm beer over there?
I wouldn't know because I don't drink beer.
Oh.
So,
well, that's what I've heard, and I think that's a little bit weird.
Well, you would, wouldn't you? But what is even more weird, I find, over in England, and I'll offend my friends as I say this, but, if you ask for a drink over there with ice, they'll almost give it to you like they're serving you sugar, like one lump or two. Have you noticed that?
Well, I noticed that also in Denmark. They only give you like 2 ice cubes as if there's a shortage. Their freezers are very, very small.
Yeah, they're very tiny. You only have one lump or two. And, as an American, that must drive you crazy, really, because, you're just used to shoveling the ice in.
Yeah, well, first you fill your glass with ice, and then you put in the liquid.
Right. Well, I thought that was just the bartender's way of making money because, they fill it up with ice. There's not much room left for the drink, right?
Well, that's true. Maybe that's just kind of caught on, and now it's the way it is. Or maybe it's the heat. Maybe it's because it's so hot here. I think that's it. That could be it, because it doesn't get too hot in either Denmark or England, does it? No, not at all.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to catching up with a few friends and also eating some of my favourite things over there. Apart from fish and chips, I better only do that once because that just goes straight to the waste.
Right. What else do they have? Bangers and mash.
Yes, I love those English breakfasts, I have to say. I will treat myself to a few English breakfasts, bangers, and, the full English breakfast. You know what that looks like?
Well, a little bit. I know it's baked beans, which is just kind of strange to me. I mean, I like baked beans, and I eat it when I'm over there, but isn't that one of the main things? That's bangers.
No, it's the bangers, the eggs. If you have a full English breakfast, it's going to have the sausage, eggs, mushrooms, tomatoes, bacon, of course. And the bacon, I do miss the bacon. That is different over there. It's leaner and yeah. So, gosh, this is making my mouth water, and it's getting close to dinner time, Heather. I think we've got to sign off here.
You're making me hungry too. I'm going to have to go shortly.
All right. Well, me too. Well, Heather, thank you very much for joining me again this week. Nice to hear and catch up with you.
That's nice of you to have me back.
Well, that's it from us. Don't forget you can check out all our show notes at dressageradio.com, and you can leave your comments, questions and suggestions for the show over on our Facebook fan page. I will be back at the same time, same place next week, so until then, thank you all for listening.